So nice to see you.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, I'll put this a bit louder. So, good to see you.
Same here.
So, is this magic?
This is magic, definitely.
Really?
Yes. That's what it's
Why?
called. That's what it's called. That com. Com has with a in the end.
So, why is it
Something,
magic?
something created for the benefit of all.
So, where's the magic in it? Because, so there's a scientific aspect to magic?
Yes. You see, one of the qualities of the Supreme is that he can expand in variety. So all this amazing variety of flowers, of fruits, of people, of thoughts, personalities, very individual, but everyone contributes to this variety. So he can expand as many times as he wants. That's why we call it omnipresent. But also he gives us the ability through this medium to be omnipresent in a sense. You are here in Ecuador, in the houses of many around the world, and myself also somehow. I have this. You
So,
can call it technology. Looks like it's like man is separated from nature. But man created it through his intellect, but this intellect is created by something higher. So it uses man to create something that's for the benefit of all. So I
so
think it's magic.
because to me, magic is a science also, right? It's just a science that we're not taught. So, for example, you're an astrologer, right? An
Yes,
astrologer is a strange mixture of mathematics, right?
yes,
Maybe physics, you
yes.
know, as an expansion of, and then you've got the interpretation of it, right? So, for example, you can have a computer, you can have a program like this, this technology we're using right now, but without the interpretation of the information, then
Uh-huh.
this it's kind of dead. There's nothing there, right? It's just like
Yes,
a dead level, right? So, but at the same time, astrology is a tiny, tiny piece of a huge worldview, right? Of a huge understanding of how information can be accessed. Yeah. So, for example, the reason I'm kind of setting up a conversation because, on the one hand, this is magic, right? Because it's a technical, scientific innovation that allows us to communicate. But the real magic is happening completely differently and independently of this frame that we're in, right?
exactly.
Right. So you come, for
Yes,
example, from Ecuador, right? In Ecuador, you have a big tradition of shamanism and things like this.
yes,
So we should be able to do this without any of this stuff, right?
exactly. Television, teleportation, etc. But
Yeah.
there's a description, everybody knows this famous book, Bhagavad Gita.
Hmm.
Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. And they were in the middle of a battlefield. So one side was the Kurus, the other side was the Pandavas. But the king, who was blind, wanted to know what is happening in the battlefield. So he's asking his secretary, Sanjaya, who had the mystic power, called Lagima. Lagima means that he can be any place that he wants. So he's sitting, Sanjaya is sitting in meditation, and he's going to the battlefield, and he's narrating to the king his television. He's seeing what's happening, he's hearing what's happening, and he's narrating to Dhritarashtra, the blind king, who is in Hastinapur, the capital, what now is Delhi, and the battlefield was in Kurukshetra, which is 4 hours away. He's narrating what is going on in this conversation. Obviously, you need some faith to understand this, but this is already explained thousands of years ago. There was part of the nature of the soul, part of the nature of this brain of each individual to have this television, this
Well,
capacity.
there was a program that was done recently, a military program. It was called remote viewing, and it
Remote
was done.
viewing.
Yeah, it was done a lot in America and in Russia, where they had groups of people basically going into buildings, going into places, reading documents, and anyways, it was terminated. It was stopped. But I'm just wondering, so this way of you and me communicating, right? You say it's part of a big. You started the talk by saying there's no difference between the natural environment that we live in, and that technology is just another development of that, right? If I understood you correctly. So,
Yes,
but to me, the fact that I have to use a device, a phone, for example, that wasn't made by me, I'm so dependent, right?
yes,
Batteries from Africa, the lens from Japan, the
yes,
screen from some Belgian company that does chemical stuff, that does, plastics, and all that for me to be able to talk to you. When
yes,
in fact, we don't need any of this, right?
yes.
And we could just transmit and talk to each other
That's
without having
me.
to use any of this, right? So
Yes,
that ingredient is called faith, you said, right?
yes. Well,
Or the belief of it, the possibility of it, right?
yes. What according to the Vedas, and it's something to just use our logic and good intelligence they all have. There is different ages cyclically moving. So there was other ages that were powerful. The men were having this ability to communicate was like natural. But we are in an age that is like the winter. In winter, you don't see leaves, you don't see flowers, you don't see the normal things. In winter, everything disappears, the leaves, etc. But doesn't mean there didn't exist other time, spring and summer, where everything was wonderful. So the same, this is called Kali Yuga, with
Yeah.
all these powers diminish. And we need to use technology to reach these things that before we used to do naturally.
So it's a
So the
degradation, basically.
intelligence of so many different men around the world have created this. It started with a little bit of Marconi going into some, text messages, and and then slowly keep thinking. Where comes this intelligence that allows you to do all this?
Mhm.
Because intel comes from inside. Inside. We call it also intuition. Tuition means there is a tutor, there is a teacher inside. So when human beings they want to do something, something else guides us to do it. Now we can use our higher capacity, or we can use our technology, our more gross capacity, but we can achieve the same. Like for example, one of the yogi's powers is lagima. Lagima is to become as light as a feather. You can walk on water. We hear that Jesus walking on water, and many yogis have done it. But now we use boats. We find some buoyancy.
Yeah. So if I understand you correctly, if you look, for example, both in the Bible and I know in the Vedas and also in some Buddhist philosophies, basically you have light, right? So in the Bible it says in the beginning there was darkness upon the face of the earth, right? And then so light basically, and also I think I'm not a I don't I'm not a physicist, but if I understand correctly, the material world is basically a slowing down of light, right? So light has no mass.
Excuse
It has
me.
it has weight but no mass, or mass and no weight. I can't remember. But basically, so when it slows down, right? The more it slows down, the more it becomes concrete. The more it becomes material. No, so if I understand you correctly, this particular period that we're living in is a slowing down of everything, basically, right? So what happens? So everything becomes more and more mass. There's more and more mass,
Dance.
more and more density,
Yes.
right? More and more materiality to everything.
Yes. More
Yeah,
gross.
more gross,
Yes.
more. And then what happens then? It goes
It's
to what
like
point?
now we are using our subtle intelligence, mind to
Hmm.
communicate, but we are also using the hands, who's also a way of communication.
Hmm.
And we are using both. We are using the language we can see that is gross and subtle combined. So the subtle is the first. So according to the Vedas, the soul is different than the subtle and gross of this material universe. But the desire of the soul to enter into this soup of material ingredients, he needs a suit. So he needs this gross to be able to touch the objects, like now this juice. To be able to perceive the juice, I need the tongue. So then the tongue tasted, and then the mind experience some pleasure. So to able to experience matter, we need a gross and subtle body.
Okay, but in this world, but we have a world becoming more and more gross, right?
Yes.
Because if during Kurukshetra, that which was what 5,000 years ago, right?
Yes.
So if 5,000 years ago it was nothing special for somebody to be able to remote view, right? Today, if you say I'm a remote viewer, people think you're. I mean, they won't even speak to you, right? No, you have to be an Instagram sensation, right? I mean, today
Yes.
that's the thing, right? Or TikTok, you know,
Yes.
I'm a TikTok, I'm an influencer, right? So,
But still, it's very mystical, to do this, to be talking to you. You are seated in Switzerland. I am here in the equator. And then we are simultaneously hearing and processing. That's very mystical. When
really,
I met Lalita 5 years ago, I was not sure if she is the person that was going to be part of my life. So I was constantly traveling. She was somewhere in India. And I was testing her constantly what number I'm thinking. And I was write the number. And she would say the right number. One time I was in Florida with my son. We were in Miami and I had to buy something in a radio shop. And there was Christmas time, so it was a little train inside the mall, and there were a few kids inside the train. So I told her, she is all the way in India, and I said, what I am looking now? She said, what do you mean? You just say anything. Why I am looking now? She said, a train? You're correct. How many kids are in the train? Kids? She didn't know. You just say it. 6. And then I took a picture. I showed her there were 6 kids. So I keep testing her to see the ability to remote viewing what I'm seeing if she's really connected with me. And she never failed once. So it was a way of testing
so
something.
what are we going to tell Facebook? Facebook, can you
Yes.
remote view what's going on, right? I mean, because
Yes.
it's another. What you're talking about is a very, for example, for me, the mystical thing happening right now is not that I see you, because it's that I feel you. So,
Exactly.
because we decided to connect at this point, right? So
Yes.
now my attention, my heart is
Yes.
going towards you, and yours is going towards me. So it's like it's like two coordinates, right?
Yes.
And for me,
Yes.
that's quite magical, right? It's like basically this whole big thing around us, this Facebook, Wi-Fi, this huge gross structure has just enabled us to focus on each other for this period of time, and the
Yes.
magic is happening at this level. But
Exactly.
but I think that the actual technology of it is actually just a scientific thing, right?
Like
You
you
can
were saying,
explain.
there is kind of mathematical, but when you see the word mathematics means basically the movement of time and relationship with space. So we are in a space and time is there and time keeps moving. According to the Vedas, this is called Kshara, constantly moving. There's no 1 second that stops moving. So we are just seeing the flow of time, and this is a spectrum of reality. But the feelings and emotions the two souls have, the moment that they connect, can be through meditation, can be through remembrance of someone who you knew in the past, becomes real, becomes an emotion that can shed tears, or can shed laughter, or can shed the knowledge or transmission of understanding. So that's the beauty, and really it's beyond beauty, it's like you said, magic.
So what you're basically saying is that although this platform that we're using was developed by a company that doesn't think, at least I don't know, publicly, doesn't think at all about what you're saying. What they're doing right now, they're recording us. There's algorithms analyzing what we're saying. Everything's been broken into 0, 1, 1, 0.
Yes,
There's nothing magical about that.
yeah,
Maybe the
but this is
magical
the
would be
metrics, the metrics of it.
that's the
They
magic
may
for you.
think they didn't invent these metrics, this system of communication. They didn't invent it, they just captured it. It's like in
Uh,
the case of Mozart, in the case of Chopin, Stravinsky, you go Tchaikovsky, you go anybody, Beethoven. They all said, we are just feeling this. We are
mhm.
perceiving this. We are just tuning with this channel where music is flowing and we are writing it down. But it's not my music. It's just, something that are channeling. So the same as technology, the intelligence of the universe is so vast. Whatever you want to do, you can invent. If someone desires insignificant plastic in China, they will make it. But someone is desiring somewhere, and this plastic will arrive to that person.
Okay, I agree with that. So basically, the thought, basically, things exist because you can think of them, right? So
Yes.
basically, there were no mobile phones, and then somebody could imagine it, and then boom, it materializes itself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the particularities of human beings. You know, we're kind of capable of doing that. I don't think cats can sit and go like, or not, or like my wife. She often says that. She says, you know, an ant cannot comprehend us doing what we're doing right now. You know, it might understand that there's something there big that can squish it, you know, but it cannot understand what we're talking about, this whole, you know, this whole, and the same, we cannot do it either. So the universe,
Yes.
we can only see a tiny, because, you know, for me, science is so small, you know, because science is science is based on the idea that it has to be replicable, right? There has to be a formula. You have to state, this is the rule, you know, the scientific rule. You need to be able to do it. And every time you do it, it needs to have the same result, right? But
That's the gross part.
yeah,
You
but
can
that's,
verify it with your senses.
yeah,
But there's so much more that goes behind
yeah,
to produce this gross result.
yeah. But this is the world that we've been pushed into, right? We've been pushed in the world of, oh, you know, for example, COVID, right? I didn't hear anybody talk. Everybody talked about money, right? The
Yes.
consequences, you know, a bit of suffering. They talked about suffering, but mostly about money. But nobody said, actually, COVID comes from our minds, from the way we behave, you know, from the way we
The
are taught,
reaction.
from, yeah, it's like from the system that we're building. Nobody talks of that, you know. Or for example, you know, I look at my kids, you know, I fight every day with them for how much iPad I give it to them. You know, iPad is like, you say it's part of this reality, right? You said it's another expansion of a higher being thought, you know, reality. You said basically, we started to talk by you saying that all this is part of the same as a butterfly is flying right now outside in the garden. You know, we're part of this thing. But you know, if I go to shopping mall, for example, I don't know if you've noticed, but people who work at the cashier, you know, nobody's bored anymore. Everybody's on their phones, right?
Yes.
But the body's there, but everything else isn't there.
Isn't.
So, and it doesn't look like they're getting happier, you know. It doesn't
That's
look
the,
like there's more. It doesn't look like there's more harmony happening, right? So, how do you explain? I mean, I,
the thing
I don't know
is,
how quite. I don't know how to express this. For example,
yes.
okay,
You know,
you in
we
the
are
street.
more internal. We're supposed to experience something internal. The gross is very limited. If you see someone sleeping, if you're a scientist, you're trying to analyze who's this person. You can test blood samples, you can do anything. You will never know the level of kindness, artistry, poetry, you know, sincerity, honesty that he has. Everything that we are is something that cannot be tested, cannot be seen. It's something so much more subtle. So, like you said, a cashier is just doing her thing, but she's meditating on her kids. She's meditating on other things. We are going into thousands of thoughts and emotions every second. You're talking about the butterfly. This is one of these amazing miracles and magic. First is one oruga, this just a little insect that is moving, then completely transforming to liquid again, all the system. And now it sprouts a complete new thing with wings and antennas, it suddenly can fly. So it has been completely reincarnated in the same cocoon. It's the two different entities, has ship-shaped basically. His shape has changed. So how wonderful is this? And then the flowers that exist there. She's standing in one flower, taking the pollen, which is the male organs, the male, and then it's moving to another flower, stepping there where is the ovaries of the other flower. And then it's putting the pollen in there. So this flower can now have a new existence. All this is just so wondrous. The word miracle basically means wondering. It's so amazing. It's just everything that we observe, the light, etc., is wondering. So
So how
like
do you?
you're saying, it's
Yeah.
something wondrous, you know?
Hmm.
Even this technology that we are seeing, when we see it properly, It's all someone giving us the intelligence to produce what we want. Yes, we will fly in the sky. Yes, we will have cities floating. Yes, the doors will open like this. We will have some funny Armani suits for the space. But that's not the thing. We're still feeling, still emotionally looking for happiness. And not just technology is not going to give us that. It's more what we get out of it. Like you were saying, in the connection. The people connect to love and be loved.
So, for example, you would have been, as an astrologer, let's say 300, 400 years ago, right? You would be like doing some weird dark art stuff, right? Like the astrologer, right? And today it's becoming more and more kind of scientific, right? So how, in a way, right? Not the interpretation of it maybe, but so what would you advise people to, how do you transform, how do you liquefy yourself and transform yourself using all these technologies, and you not use it as a hindrance, but use it as a path to spiritual growth, to as a path to, how do you how do you not get disconnected with the world around when you're using this particular.
That's the beauty of every person has a soul, and the soul is so much more powerful and deeper than anything. So when you connect in any way through technology with other person around the world, that person has the same situations that you have, experiencing some sorrow, experiencing some fears, experiencing some expectations, some hopes, some aspirations. So when you're able to talk to them, show them a little bit about their personality, of who they are, and also show them the reality of where we are. We are in a very limited place, a place that we're not able to grant us what we are really looking for. So it's just a question of time, place, and circumstances. We need to be in the right place to be able to experience full happiness. This world is temporary and has happiness and distress. So here never is going to change. We cannot be eternal in a place where death is part of it. This in the Vedas, this place is called Mrityu Loka. Loka means location, and Mrityu means death. Mrityu, smert, muerte, it's the same word. So because it's a place of constant death, every second millions of cells are dying, new are being made. So how are we going to experience eternity? So, a little bit of cosmetics and yoga and running is not going to guarantee anything. So like you were talking about this virus, we have incredible technology, incredible weaponry, millions of billions of dollars, and we have an invisible enemy where everybody has to hide. We have incredible scientists. They cannot find the cure. It will take time. And even if they find it, something else will appear, because this is Mrityu Lokam, a place of death. We cannot avoid it. We just have to learn to deal with it. It's like when we go out in the street, we look one side and the other because death is passing by. We need to cross the street at the right time, otherwise, something may happen. So the same, we have to learn to live with the virus now, because it's just one more of these agents who are always predating on us. Because that's this world. So the situation is, what place we're supposed to be. We are not in the right place for what we are looking for. So astrology is more like a guideline in these dvipas, these islands inside this ocean of space, how we can get out of this labyrinth. So my duty as studying these ancient science is to try to show the way.
Mm-hmm. So what is the way for person today, like living on this particular planet, in this particular reality? People.
Like you say, the word reality, reality is that we cannot be happy. There's 80%, 70% of struggle to get 20, 30% of happiness. It's like, out of thousands of flowers, you can put a few drops of essence of perfume.
It sounds like a bad deal.
Yeah. So the same, it's
So
like
is this a
so much
punishment?
struggle. Yeah. So much struggle to drops of happiness. So maybe we can just employ all this effort in finding this state of calmness. It's like Lord Buddha. He showed us he was just so compassionate. He wasn't able to tolerate that the people is suffering. He is born as a prince. He has everything. And his father disguised those sufferings, giving him only the best of the best. But at one point, he wanted to see the world, what is going on. And when he saw suffering, he decided to going to eliminate suffering. So out of his compassion, he dedicated himself for this search, and he found it, and he's showing us the path. So the ancient science of the Vedas is how to become happy. And happy means how to first reach peace. And from this happiness, desire to eliminate suffering by moving forward from here. Because we're going to have to move anyhow. But we should know where. Not like a cat, like you were saying. A cat don't know where he goes. An ant, exists to eat, sleep, work, and sex. The same the whale, 4 activities: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They don't know more. But we as human beings, we have a 5th capacity. We constantly have this amazing chakra, Vishuddha chakra, that connects with Mercury and Jupiter. They give us the ability to comprehend very complicated nomenclature of language. And with this, we are perceiving the truth. We are analyzing the truth. If we live to analyze this like this wonderful conversation, then people can get illuminated by it. Not by me. I also illuminated, not by us. No, that there is sages, there is wisdom, there is people who have worked in this path. It's like if I want to learn carpentry, I go to someone who is proficient, who has experience with wood. I want to learn medicine, I go to doctors. I want to learn the truth. I have to find people who have been cavillating, who have been meditating, who have been in this path of the truth. And we're going to see people who have some realizations, not just theory, but who live and see, have a vision of the truth. And then by absorbing our connections, our consciousness with this, we attain this path, we find this exit.
So, for example, what's the difference between Buddha and Bill Gates? Because Bill Gates, he thinks like a hack, like a programmer. He's also trying to eliminate suffering, but it's not going to work. He's wasting his time and his money.
First, you have to identify what suffering means. It's like the word education. Nowadays, everybody wants to be educated, but dukkha means suffering. That we have Latin words like decay, decaer in Latin. Dukkha means to fall. Decay is to die. So dukkha means suffering, and edukkha is to eradicate suffering. How to eradicate suffering? But we are getting more matter and matter and matter. We get more gross instead of getting more subtle. Lord Buddha gives education, means free from suffering by giving you spiritual knowledge and giving you the tools of how to get free from these gross desires who take you far away from the path of the truth. There is light, there is a path of light, but in Sanskrit it's called Reka. Reka means a line. That's why we have words like correct, go back to line, director, go back into the line, rector in a school or university, someone who puts you in line. So Reka, we have to follow the path of light. Otherwise, we go into the sides and the darkness. We always try to go back into light. So Lord Buddha, Lord Jesus, Lord Krishna, ancient scriptures from the ancient past always show us the path of happiness and at the same time how to remain fixed in this path.
Yeah, but I mean, so what would you advise people?
People are so wonderful. Mm-hmm. And this process that we are doing now, the free communication, free surfing, has broke these chains of people controlling the others through religion, through politics, through fear. And now people can see it and just investigate and wonder and just pay attention to something that they never had before. Obviously brings so many paths for other people to exploit, but also gives the people a free information. So now people feel connected with people from all over the world. This kind of more brotherhood and sisterhood now. We have breaking so many barriers of sectarism, of racism. We get these isms away, capitalism, democracy. They are all different isms created by us. In reality, we are all brothers and sisters. We all look for the same things. We all want happiness. We all want eternity. We all want knowledge. We all have the same desires. The ant wants happiness. The fish wants happiness. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to love and be loved in a sense. So we are very much similar and individual at the same time. But we all pursue the same goals. So the people in general, the community, the more that we see our natural and same interest, we should all walk in the same direction. And to get the wisdom of the ancient Vedas, apply it to our modern life. We all connected in a sense in that way to the same source. There is a source of everything. It's like love. We know that love exists. There is a source of love. In Sanskrit, it's called Rama. Rama means the source of pleasure and love. Rama is one of the names of God. And from Rama, you get the word Ramanti. Ramanti means the relationship between the individual soul and the supreme soul, or the relationship with the fire with the sparks. Meanwhile, the sparks are dancing near the fire. They get the same light and heat in less quantity, but the quality is the same. So meanwhile we connect with the source of love, then we are all like the roots that connect with each other. We all can nourish ourselves, be completely satisfied. So we all as a community, as people, we should know there is a source of love and we should connect with it. Just like watering the roots of the tree, the whole parts of the tree get nourished. We cannot, water each leaf. It's not possible. But just by putting it in the root, everybody will get.
Mm-hmm.
Individually, the hand may want to chew an apple. I don't want to serve the mouth anymore. I'm going to nourish myself. But the hand cannot nourish herself by just grabbing the apple. It has to be given to the mouth to the stomach, and then all the cells of the body receive the share. So there is such a thing as community, and it's some common sense. There is a father to be able to be brothers and sisters, and obviously a mother.
But there's two elements that you're talking about. First, you say we're getting rid of all the isms, right? So from your point of view, what happens after capitalism, for example? Because capitalism is a big inert system, right? Which is built on different values, we could say, right? And then also, what do you do with people? It's very well to have all this opportunity of communication and, like you said, like breaking the barriers. But it's like you're thrown in a. So it's two questions, yeah. There's one question after capitalism, and the other thing is when you're thrown in this maze, this like, you're just taken without any education, without any preparation, and you're just thrown in this. All right, it's all open now. It's very difficult. You said this is the earth. This is the place of death, right? We don't have that much time. You can waste so much time just trying to figure out something. So these are the two questions, right?
So the first one, capitalism, comes from the word capita, which means head. Capital, that the capitar means to cut the head. Per capita means per head. So when we become very egoistic, and I think only in my own head, so that's what you will call capitalism. I'm gonna succeed by stepping on the heads of others. But without sharing, it's no life. What am I gonna use with everything accumulated in my head? Without sharing, it's no purpose. Now, I share with my family, but you need to share also with extended family, with your neighbors, with everybody. The light of the sun is for everyone. The rain is for everyone. Everything is sharing. In this world, sharing is the happiness. So capitalism, when it's just centered, this is egoism. And this egoism would never make anybody happy. Now, you were saying the people going to this running, because everybody's going into careers. Career in Latin means carrera. Carrera means to run. Like Porsche Carrera means to run. So everybody's running behind the head, behind the capital. Someone is thinking, makes a big table, puts himself there, some directors, how are we gonna direct the heads of millions? So everybody's running to get this system, you get in debt, you get with the credit cards, and you consume and consume and consume. We don't need to tell them that life has, really a purpose. The purpose of life is to enjoy. And the moment you put this in the mind of the people, the purpose of life is to enjoy Coca-Cola, enjoy anything, and you have to buy for it. So the carrera, the people go into university to get a career, and then they get out of the university and they have to run behind money to pay debts, to try to get what they want. That's not real happiness. That's what many sages, even without anything, they control the hunger, the thirst, the desires. They are more satisfied and peaceful. Doesn't mean that we have to give up our desires, but we have to have a balance. And what is the purpose of my existence? Where I am going? We all talk about leaders, that the wife should follow the husband. That the husband knows where he goes. The children should follow the parents, but the parents know where they go. The children should follow the teacher. The teachers know what is the goal of life. They're teaching us only matter. You see, in any university, matter. You have like, how many matters you have? I have 8 matters. How many matters you have? 6 matters. Matter means mother. There is vater and mater. This is a Germanic word of the English language. Matter means mother nature. We come out to exploit the mother. We go to university, go out to exploit it, and we don't care if we pollute the air, the water, for my capita, for my head. I get what I want. So it's just such a system. We have to wake up from this system and see what is the purpose of life and what we can do with our capita. Our capita is to think deeply, not to just satisfy the senses like wildly.
So what happens post-capitalism? What is it going to be then?
As you see now, this is the American dream, for example. Everybody, one capita becomes successful. There is Mr. Trump. He's the perfect example of the American dream, and everybody's throwing stones to him because it's the envy. There's someone who has reached the top, but nobody wants the one on top. Everybody wants to be on top. So it's this dissatisfaction, even though he is the perfection of the American dream. An entrepreneur who got all the richness, has the beautiful wife, the beautiful children, has the cars, the houses everywhere, his own airplane, and the guy is just being a president without even making money out of it. He says, I don't need your salary, because what they going to do with 40,000 a year when he can do 40,000 in a second? So this makes the people angry, dissatisfied, because it's per capita. Everybody is fighting for their own egoistic nature, and it's not natural for the self. We are all people who want to serve. The word serve is our identity. We live to serve. We are all serving each other. Using this table, someone kindly did this table, this cloth, this weaving, everything, the juice, Lalita prepared the place. Everybody is serving each other, husband, wives, children. So serve is the pleasure. And serve should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. When we are motivated, I only serve if I get this reward, then it's no happiness. That's what Krishna says in the Gita. You're entitled to perform your service, but you're not entitled to the results of it, the fruits. So if you work without thinking in the fruits, you just do it out of service, there is pleasure. But when you are always serving just because you're going to get the reward, then it's business. And in business, we never get the reality of the pleasure of serving others. I invite you home.
In business, if you do what you're saying, you're an idiot.
You said, we are here to serve you, but in reality is that you pay us for your service.
Yeah. We're here to screw you.
So service is love. You can only express love through service.
So do you think we're in the process of going in a post-capitalistic society or not? From an astrological point of view, from your knowledge,
Yeah, people is understanding that there is no happiness in many of the isms. Like, for example, communism was a very good idea. We are a community, we all should have. But community means brothers and sisters. You cannot cut the head of the father and think we are all tabarish, camaradas, brothers and sisters. How you create it, that's why communism fell. And now people, they're again searching for their spirituality, looking for their essence. So everything that is created without the knowledge of the Supreme will fail. We see nature is not fighting against what is reality. Everybody is existing according to their nature. But we humans, we go against the greed. We're trying to go against, we're trying to create our own way. Krishna says in the Gita, Chatur Varna Maya Shrishtam. I have created 4 classes of men according to the guna, the quality of their work. So you have intellectuals, you have kshatriyas called government and organizers or army protectors. You have vaishyas, which are business people who produce. Everything we see is produced. The wall that we have, the cloth that we are wearing, the mouse, the lens, people produce these things through workers. So these 4 classes of people exist in a capital society or in a communist society. There's always going to be 4 classes of people. Like the body has a head, who thinks, has the arms to protect, has the stomach that shares, and has the legs that work. So the social body also needs workers, needs producers, needs protectors, and needs someone who guides the society to some ultimate goal, which will be happiness, freedom from death, freedom from old age disease, where the real problems. We have so much medical institutions, we have so much welfare for the medical side, and still diseases are everywhere. So we are fighting against something we should be able to fight, because disease is part of life.
It's interesting what you
Cleanliness
said.
will eradicate disease. Purity and habits eradicate disease until a certain point. Then old age disease and death is natural.
It's interesting what you're saying, so, because in your description, right, of the four classes of humans, if you look, and with technology, and my previous question, which was how does somebody deal with all the breaking of the walls, right, of this new paradigm where we can just see things and converse and get rid of all the barriers. It seems that a lot of the leaders in countries today, much like people, are just as lost as everyone else. Like people, no one is teaching how do you teach people to use this new opportunities, to surf it, to turn it into something positive, instead of this bizarre schizophrenic thing of, you know,
Yeah.
freedom and control, right? So what can you say? Is there a Vedic point of view on this, for example? That'd be interesting to know.
The Vedic society was perfect in the sense that there was 4, you can say, goals in the human form of life. The first was dharma. Dharma means what is the ultimate purpose of life. Dharma means your own duties. We are born indebted with our father and mother, give us this body. I'm breathing because they give me this body. So I'm already indebted to them. As a husband, I am indebted. As a father, I am indebted. I have to act according to these rules, what you can call prescribed duties. As a citizen, I have to follow the norms of society, the rules of traffic, etc. I have to act for the benefit of all. So this is dharma first, which is responsibility. Then artha comes economic development. Society needs to produce grains, produce cotton, produce the facilities the society needs. So artha is very important. Then comes kama. Kama is the satisfaction of the senses. We produce to be able to enjoy the food, enjoy the comfort of a shelter, the relationships, some traditional, you can say, spiritual parties. If you see in ancient societies, all the festivals are related with the spirituality. So Kama comes from the word enjoyment. That's why we have Kama Sutra, or writings on how to enjoy. You have the Recamera, which is the place where the parents live. And even in Latin, a bed is called Kama, to enjoy sex. So Kama is part of life. So Dharma, Artha, Kama, and the last one is called Moksha, liberation. So the purpose of the human life is I enjoy me while I'm young. But then comes a time when I have to give up the things. My body is becoming old. I cannot hear well. I cannot taste well. So I have to focus on moksha. Give up this world and God consciousness when they decide this line. So that was the 4 purposes of human being. But now we don't have these 2. We only have production and consumption, production and consumption. You know, work hard, economic development, and karma, satisfaction of the senses. So with these two, we don't have principles. Marriages don't hold, and it's no purpose of life. There is no life after death. We are all just a conglomerate of cells. We are not. We don't have no spirit, and there is no God behind, no God. We don't. So with this, we cannot be happy with these just two. The most important are the other two. That's why many people even avoid economic development, like monks and yogis, etc. Avoid karma, satisfaction of the senses. They live just for dharma and moksha, because that's more important. Even in the Gita, Krishna says, those who look for whatever is temporary lose the eternal. And at the end, they lose the temporary too.
It's like when somebody dies nowadays, you'll have all these messages on Facebook and Instagram like, you will be remembered forever, we will never forget you, whatever, your contribution is eternal. It's interesting what you say, it's like when you say that we live for just these two
consumption and production.
It's basically, it's like a sort of a biomechanical pornography, it's kind of like, nothing has meaning, nothing matters, everything is replaceable, you're just like a machine, you change the parts.
But if we are a machine, if I am a machine, I'd be able to change whatever is wrong and keep existing. You have a car, the carburetor is not working, put a new carburetor and it's going to run it. Take it to the mechanic and you keep running. When the soul goes out of the body, Dr. Frankenstein already tried, will not go back to life. So when you lose the opportunity, then you have to return to the samsara and keep trying again to understand where you are.
So how would you advise? So how would you advise in the world where we've got only these two, elements functioning? What would you advise people? Because when we started the talk, the beginning of our talk, I really liked what you were saying, that the technological development that we're seeing is just an extension of the natural world that we live in, and that there's no difference of it. It's just an expansion of an intellect, of knowledge. It's just part of a big, and that sounds quite beautiful. But the reality of how people sense it or live it, it's much more paranoid and messed up. It's much more dualistic. It seems it's more like black dog, white dog, right? There's not a lot of surfing happening. There's a lot of, so from a Vedic point of view, how do you handle this era that we live in, right? This
degradation,
Yeah, it's degenerate age. Yet, with all these new opportunities, how do you handle it? How do you, somebody who would be listening to us right now, how could they change the way they would pick up their phone and use it, for example?
Connect, we have to connect with it. You have to desire. First desire, then deserve. Mm-hmm. So whatever you desire, that's what you lead your energy to. So if you desire knowledge, you desire connection with happiness that is more subtle than gross. It's like sexuality. It's so degraded more and more. And the people try so many different methods. They go from, being heterosexual to bisexual to, they try everything. And it's never ending. It's like fire. You can give wood to the fire will just grow. So the Vedas explain very simply. It's kama esa, krodha esa, rajaguna samudbhava. From the rajaguna, the mode of passion, comes contemplation of the senses. We're contemplating the objects of the senses. We desire to enjoy it. By trying to enjoy it, we become frustrated and anger appears. So violence is the result of frustration. Frustration because we cannot really be happy, because the soul is not tasting the ice cream. The soul is not tasting the sex. Soul can only taste love. When someone really loves you, even if he offers you an ice cream out of love, then you enjoy the love that the other person offers.
It's the best so ice cream ever.
Yeah, it's not the gross, it's the subtle.
It's the magic
Yeah,
ice cream. Yeah.
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 It's the love that what makes the difference in everything.
Yeah.
So the moment that the people is out there looking for something, they have to desire something superior. By desiring, automatically everything will work in that direction. As they said in the Rake Krishna Marike, Rake means protection. Rake Krishna, Krishna wants to protect me. Mare, death. Okay, who's gonna kill me? Krishna wants to protect me, who's gonna kill me? So the same, the moment you start walking towards pure happiness, you're looking for enlightenment, thousands of more steps God gives or steps to pull you. You give one step, He does 1,000. So the people are never alone, never. The moment that they want to go inside and get this comfort of spirituality, automatically the universe works in their favor to find the path, to find the connection, to find the association, to get the knowledge necessary to continue walking. Now, like you were saying, we are in this age of degradation. Grava means steps. We have upgrade and degrade. Go up the ladder or lower the ladder. So we are in the human form of life. And this human form of life has granted us this communication. Now, what the Vedas said about the purpose of the human form, people always ask, what is the purpose of my life? The Vedas are describing this. Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma. Pumsam means the human beings. Para Dharma, the ultimate Dharma of the human beings. Jato Bhaktir Adoxages, to develop the loving connection between the soul and the super soul. We have to connect with the source. If we disconnect from the source, there is no charging. It's like your computer. If you don't connect it with the power source, this wonderful computer is useless. This phone is connected to the source, otherwise we will not run this conversation. So the same, when the soul is disconnected from the Supreme Soul, we start losing our power, and then is when we start wandering around for the body, which is the gross shell. When you open a banana, you throw the peel because the banana is important, the nourishment. The same, this gross body is just a vehicle to achieve something. When we don't use the vehicle properly, we are just wandering around, trying to satisfy this body, which is not me, which is the peel. So human society and everybody who's at home hearing this conversation, they will agree there is something more superior than just matter. We have a mind, we all have a mind, cannot be seen, but still is there. We all have an intelligence, we are discriminating on what the mind proposes. We cannot see it, but we all have it. Beyond the mind is the soul, the self. The soul is going in this chariot of the body. These 5 horses who are leading us are these 5 senses. And the reins is the mind. If you don't hold the mind strongly, these horses will take you to the abysm. So the Vedas recommend to control the mind. The mind is called mana. Mana means superior mind. That's human or human is of superior mind. So we have to use the mind to understand the truth, not to just feed the horses and feed the horses and feed the horses. These horses are not the aim. The horses are leading us. The intelligence should hold the mind strong, and the passenger, who is the soul, should tell the intelligence where to go with this chariot of the body. So this body, gross and subtle, is made to achieve the exit of this perennial existence, which is constantly in a cycle. Life and death, life and death, life and death. We die, we still continue desiring to be in this world. We have to accept another body. It's like if I want to be inside the water of the ocean, I can, do some scuba diving. But if you want to go back again, I need again new tanks, again the suit, go inside. So meanwhile, we want to live in this not natural world for us, the material world. We need a material body. But the moment we want to go back home, we are part of the spiritual world. The spiritual world is the real world. This world is the reflection. Wherever we see in mountains and bees and fruits and relationships, this variety is reflected from the spiritual nature. There is another nature, parodharmos, superior nature. And this nature is real. That's where we come from, spirit. The spirit is made out of eternity. That's where we all never want to die. Knowledge, that's where we are always wanted to be educated. And bliss, happiness, that's what we all want. I see only hearts coming out, hearts. We all want to be happy. So because we are spirit, we will never be able to exist and be happy in the material world. So for all our people who are kindly hearing and seeing, I will say, just desire higher truth, and this truth will manifest very much in your heart. Sooner or later, the path will become very clear and wondrous and very bright and very satisfying, and you will see millions of people walking in this path. So you're never alone walking in this path of enlightenment. You just have to connect with it.
Okay, we're nearing the end of our talk, but I think that's very useful to basically what you're saying is that do not fixate on whatever technology exists or whatever time we live in, but fixate on the direction that you want to go. And
we can use technology. We can be thankful for it, but to use it properly. A knife in the hands of a thief is very dangerous, but a knife in the hand of a surgeon or a good cook is nice.
Yeah.
So technology is not bad. It's just how we can utilize it.
Yeah, just keep looking beyond. The aim. The aim is important, right?
The aim, yes. Okay. Where we put the aim, yes.
Yeah.
It's not where we stand, but where the arrows.
As long as we're standing. Thank you for your time. It'd be good if we could find the time again to do maybe part 2 of this, because it's a bit short.
It would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Just so much.
And this, because there's some aspects that we didn't quite get to touch, but again, because it would be interesting to talk next time again a bit about magic and how to manifest it and how it manifests, because it's actually a science. Magic is also a science, and I think personally I feel there's not enough of it nowadays.
This opportunity you have created, definitely we should continue topics, and will be one. I know there's wonderful people on the other side eager to have more.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All the best.
All the best to you. See you soon, I hope. Or see you there.
Yes.
Thank you. Ciao. Take care.